The city always breathed differently at night. The tall buildings stood still, holding the glow of fading daylight in their windows, while the streets below hummed with a softer rhythm. Cars rolled past with patient headlights, the hum of engines low and steady. Street vendors called out for late customers, their voices blending with the faint echo of music rising from narrow alleys. It was in these hours that Michael Walker felt most alive. He wasn't a man of luxury, or someone who carried himself like he had power. He was ordinary, and he liked it that way. By day, Michael worked as a clerk in a gray office building downtown. By night, however, he allowed himself to wander. He walked the city's side streets, its markets, its quiet bridges, as if he were trying to hear the city speak back to him. That evening, the air smelled faintly of rain, though the sky was clear. Michael pulled his jacket tighter, moving past shuttered shops. He thought about the simple meal he'd have when he got home, and the quiet music he'd play as he wrote in his journal. It was a routine, and routines had always given him comfort. But the city had other plans. As Michael turned a corner, he heard a sound that stopped him. It wasn't the clatter of dishes or the laughter of friends spilling from a cafe. It was softer, more fragile. A voice, carrying a rhythm, floating on words that bent and stretched. Someone was rapping. Not for a crowd, but for himself. Michael followed the sound. In a small alley lit by a single flickering bulb, he saw a young man leaning against a wall, notebook in hand. The boy's clothes were plain, but his eyes burned with focus. He whispered the words like they mattered, each line rising and falling with unshaken belief. Michael paused at the mouth of the alley. He didn't want to intrude, yet he felt pulled closer, like the music had tied a thread around his chest. The young man looked up suddenly. Their eyes met. For a second, Michael thought he might be chased away. But instead, the boy gave a small nod, an unspoken invitation. They didn't speak right away. The boy continued with his verses, his voice stronger now, echoing against the alley walls. The words painted pictures, of struggle, of streets that never slept, of families waiting in dimly lit rooms, and of dreams heavy enough to break a heart. Michael listened quietly. The city, which had always seemed so large and unreachable, now felt distilled into that voice. Every broken streetlight, every tired shopkeeper, every restless soul, they all lived inside the rhythm. When the boy stopped, silence settled like dust. Finally, Michael said, "That was something real." The boy shrugged, almost shy. "It's just words." "No," Michael replied gently. "It's more than words. It's you. It's the city." The boy's eyes softened, and for the first time, he smiled. They began to talk. The boy's name was Aaron. He was 19, living with his mother in a small apartment not far from there. He worked long hours at a warehouse, stacking boxes until his arms ached, but at night he wrote rhymes. He dreamed of recording them, of letting people hear his voice. But the dream felt far away, almost too heavy to hold. Michael listened, nodding, not as an authority but as someone who understood the weight of ordinary struggles. He knew what it meant to dream quietly, unsure if anyone cared. "Sometimes," Aaron admitted, "I feel like the city wants me invisible. Like no matter what I write, it just won't matter." Michael felt those words deeply. He had once believed the same. His own life had been full of small choices, none of which left ripples. He had buried his own passions in routine. Yet standing here, listening to Aaron, something stirred in him. "You matter," Michael said simply. "Your words matter. You just have to let them breathe." Days passed, and Michael returned to that alley again and again. Aaron was always there, notebook in hand, words spilling like water from a hidden well. Michael never tried to correct him or guide him. He only listened, offering the presence of someone who cared enough to hear. And slowly, something shifted. Aaron grew bolder, his voice louder. One evening, he rapped with such intensity that a small group gathered near the alley, curious. They listened, clapping quietly when he finished. For Aaron, it was a moment of proof that his voice could reach beyond the walls. Michael watched with quiet pride. He felt no envy, no longing for recognition. Instead, he felt whole in a way he hadn't for years. But then came the twist. One evening, Aaron didn't show up. Michael waited under the flickering bulb, listening to the silence press against him. Minutes turned to hours. The alley felt colder, emptier. The next day, Michael asked around and learned that Aaron's warehouse had closed without notice. He and his mother had been forced to leave their apartment, vanishing into the city's endless sprawl. For the first time in years, Michael felt helpless. He had grown attached to that fragile thread of music, and now it was gone. The silence was heavy. Weeks passed. Michael returned to his routines, but they felt hollow. The city streets, once alive with whispers and laughter, now seemed empty. He wondered if Aaron had given up, if his words had been silenced before they ever reached the world. And then, one evening, Michael heard it again. Not in an alley, but from a passing car at a red light. A voice, clear and strong, flowing from the speakers. A verse he recognized, Aaron's verse. The car pulled away, but the music lingered. Michael froze, his chest tight. Aaron had found a way. Somehow, somewhere, he had recorded his words. The city was listening now. Michael smiled, a slow, quiet smile that grew as he walked home. He didn't need to see Aaron to know the truth. The boy's voice was alive, carried by wires and speakers, reaching people who had never heard his name. And in that moment, Michael felt something he had been chasing all his life, the sense that small acts, quiet encouragement, could ripple outward in ways unseen. He had not changed the world, but he had helped one voice rise. And that was enough. That night, Michael sat by his window, the city stretching before him. The streets glowed with lights, the air still carrying traces of music. He opened his journal and wrote a single line. Sometimes, all we need is someone to listen. Then he closed the book, leaned back, and let the city sing him to sleep.